It's the pirate movie you've been waiting for. Pirates Ahoy!
Yo ho ho!
Aye, ye be welcome to Scooby-Topia. Before, we looked at further direct-to-video Scooby films of what's new era, and due to popular demand, we'll be finishing them off with the final 3, starting here. Aye, it's Scooby-Doo Pirates Ahoy, the 10th film overall in the DTV series, released in September of 2006. Of course, this here would be one of many times the dog and his mates would meet with a pirate, a popular choice for villains to go with. Grabbing place in the Bermuda Triangle, we'll also take a historical look at the mystique of that there area as we go, and more. Blimey, be I still communicating by way of the pirate just to piss all the people who waited the Scooby-Doo project video. Aye, let's not waste any further time and get into it.
Scooby-Doo!
Before we continue, I thought I'd add a little reminder for YouTube viewers. On the Trick or Treat video, one viewer guys to Negative Fake Concern was really pissed off that I have a commentary section on the movies and the movie videos where I examine and break down the plot as well as go over anything I found funny or interesting, because they've already seen the movies. While the two of us apparently have very different taste in YouTube videos, as that's exactly what I love to watch on here, they didn't seem to be aware that it's built in that you don't have to watch that if you don't want to. There are actually chapter segments by design in my videos these days, and if you go to the video progress bar at the bottom of the video, you can actually see the chapter stops in their titles. Try it on this one right now. I even typically spend time working on the name for each one during scripting. If there's a segment in one of these videos you don't want to see, you can just easily choose and skip to the segment you do. That's what those are there for, not just to look pretty. Now that everyone's caught up, let's get back to the show. Apparently, I'm about to have another controversial opinion with this video. From what I gather, both reading reviews and also my comment section here, people generally don't like this movie. In fact, many people seem to hate it. I am not one of them. I actually love this movie. It was one of my favorites and most watched as a kid, even despite me not liking pirates much. I even watched it again earlier this year for fun and still liked it. Maybe that has to do with the inclusion of the Bermuda Triangle, which like Titanic or Pompeii always fascinated me. We'll get into that next though. Either way, I'll be approaching this one from a place of love and not malice, so it might not be what you expect if you're on team #PirateSuck. As mentioned, being the 10th movie, this was the direct follow-up to Where's My Mummy? You can go watch my video on that one if you haven't. Released 3 years after the first Disney Pirates film that reignited the pirate craze, it's obvious from the trailer that had some influence on the film getting made. 1995's Cutthroat Island had all but killed the genre until the Disney revival, and suddenly pirates were cool again. I even have the Piratology book like the Egyptology one to match my previously mentioned mummy love. I can't say pirates were my thing. Captain Hook and Peter Pan was about as far as I cared myself, but it only made sense for Scooby-Doo and the Gang to return with a swashbuckling film the same year as the second Disney Pirates film to capitalize on it while it was still hot. Like the other movies I've covered, this has a pretty big cast of stars I'm well acquainted with. For example, Ron Perlman voices Biff Wellington and another character we'll get into later. From playing Hellboy to his many iconic animated roles, including Slade in Teen Titans, Hotep in Scooby-Doo Where's My Mummy is previously covered, etc. The late legendary Tim Conway voices Fred's dad, Skip Jones, and this isn't his first time here as he also voiced himself as a guest on the new Scooby-Doo movies in 1973. Not only that, if you're a video game aficionado, you might have heard him as Professor Alexander Graham in Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. You might also know him from his many Disney films or his appearances on fellow Scooby guest Carol Burnett's show, all of which I practically was raised on. Ferris Bueller's Day Off star Edie McClurg voices Fred's mom Peggy after doing additional voices in some previous Scooby series prior. Legend Kathy Najimy voices cruise director Sunny St. Cloud. You might know her for her role as Mary Sanderson in Hocus Pocus, which she just recently reprised for the sequel, or Peggy Hill in King of the Hill, maybe even the Evil Queen in Descendants. She's got a ton of iconic roles. Arsenio Hall voices Captain Crothers. Freddie Rodriguez is Rupert Garcia. I actually know him as Eduardo Dorado Jr. in Young Justice. You might know him as Cesar Salazar in Generator X, or Mossy Minos in Teen Titans. Voicing Mr. Mysterio is Dan Castellaneta. All I really have to say for him is that he's Homer Simpson at this point. Maybe not as shocking a cast as Goblin King, but still good. And what about the lore of the infamous triangle and these dangerous ghost men of the sea the movie pulls from? Let's look into that so we can better understand how they use it all in the story. Located off the southeastern coast of the US in the Atlantic Ocean, between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico, the Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, has become somewhat of a fascinating urban legend or myth over the centuries. Spanning 440 miles of sea, the triangle is part of a busy shipping route, with vessels heading to America, Europe, and the Caribbean crossing through every day. However, it's what happens to those who go in and don't come out that make it the setting for today's film. Some were convinced it's what stole away Amelia Earhart. While she was not in the area of the triangle in reality, her mysterious disappearance that's haunted people for nearly 90 years now simply falls into the exact expectations of what happens to travelers who get too far into the devil's trap, hence the jump.
66-year-old Charles Fisher of Portland, Oregon, paid $100,000 for it. He and his wife Terry had sailed out of Fort Lauderdale in August 1972. To this day, no one knows how that voyage ended. During its subsequent search and investigation, the Coast Guard learned that the elderly couple had spent the fall island hopping in the Caribbean, en route to their retirement home in Puerto Vallarta. They were seen on the 12th of December off Corinto, Nicaragua. All the Coast Guard ever found of Mr. and Mrs. Fisher and the ship, Como No, was a small plastic lifeboat.
Between 1945 and 1970, many ships and planes disappeared in the infamous area, including one aircraft with 32 people aboard that was never seen again. A 1952 article by George Sand on these losses, including Flight 19, would lay the groundwork for what we now think of this area, including the suggestion of the supernatural aspect. Also covering Flight 19, author Alan W. Eckert wrote that the flight leader was heard saying, "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green, not white." This would continue throughout writings in the 1970s, adding to the supernatural mystique Eckert had conjured up and building the legacy in the minds of people. Some believe the leftover technology of the mythical continent of Atlantis to be the cause of the ships and crafts vanishing. Some believe it to be an alternate dimension with a black hole that people wander into without realizing. Some even believe this to be an area focused on by UFOs who are abducting the crafts. Stories surrounding the Bermuda Triangle and these supernatural habits actually began in the time of Christopher Columbus. Unfortunately, the infamous asshole we don't talk about on Indigenous Peoples Day and not the director of Mrs. Doubtfire. He reportedly saw a flame of fire crashing into the sea in the triangle during his infamous voyage. Though, are we really gonna trust him? And of course, just like in the movie, this area was no stranger to pirates, like Blackbeard himself.
Piracy has been around as long as ships have set sail. Out on the high seas, it's every man for himself. That's part of the excitement. It's also part of the danger.
According to experts, the area of the Bermuda Triangle was a favored playground for some of history's most notorious pirates.
Right around the Keys, and especially the Bermuda Triangle, the pirates were sailing around this area because it's directly through the trade route from South America, Latin America, Cartagena, through to Europe. The most common pirates around the area were Blackbeard, which everybody knows about, Calico Jack, who's most famous for having the two women pirates, and also Black Caesar.
Some of these ships might have run afoul of some pretty nasty pirates. Their ships could have been plundered, their people sold into slavery, or worse, thrown off the side.
As such, what better place could there be for a spooky Scooby-Doo movie? You have the usual ghost pirates, and you have a mysterious place where people go missing. Combine them together and you get the perfect combo for a mystery only the dog detective and his friends can solve. Let's break down the movie now and actually see what they did with this. The movie opens up with a pirate map, showing us the Bermuda Triangle in question. Several of the myths over the years, including sea monsters in the area, whirlpools, the UFOs, and such, are represented across the credits to give the audience an understanding if they're unfamiliar with the history of the area. We find another ship where Dr. Rupert Garcia is stargazing, here to work on his map of the stars, and he assures the crew member those stories of the triangle are nothing but legend. Later, everything on the ship starts to go wild as a glowing fog comes in, and ghost pirates silently crawl aboard. It's genuinely creepy that it's so quiet, they say nothing and virtually make no noise, it's just so menacing. Their ship passes the window as Rupert tries to make contact with help, but their cannons send the ship sinking as he hides. The ghost captain and his crew can't find him and leave, rowing back into the fog with one last cannon shot to finish the sinking boat. We cut to the mystery machine as the boys have their tongues out while Daphne paints her nails. They're ready for vacation with no more aliens, mummies, or haunted tikis like we've covered before. In fact, they're going on a cruise set up by Fred's parents for his birthday with everyone invited along.
So, Freddie, how old are you going to be?
43. 44. 45. Pure 45. This is it.
They get out and Scooby is immediately scared, but when he tries to tell them what he saw, there's nothing.
Unless you think Hawaiian shirts, black socks, and sandals are scary.
They are. Very, very scary.
Fred's parents eventually greet them, and he and his dad do a special little handshake, and his mom goes a little overboard. See what I did there?
My, haven't you blossomed?
What does that mean, ma'am?
You'll never get a beau unless you add a little glow.
I guess Mama Peggy hasn't heard the big news recently. Fred's dad has everything planned out as they snap a picture, and we meet cruise director Sunny St. Cloud, who shows them around the deck.
Aye, aye.
Oh, you're a natural, huh?
Finishing up, Fred slips and falls as his mom babies him. They find he slipped on goo, which Sunny insists seems like an alien footprint. But before Fred can declare a mystery, she moves them along as the ship sets sail. Suddenly, the boys are spooked by the man from before, but the others still don't catch him. Snapping another picture, they meet Captain Crothers, who asks to meet them, and he informs them that their destination is, of course, the Bermuda Triangle.
Ooh, Jiminy!
sorry.
Just as Velma says it's nothing more than a legend, a light flashes and the captain vanishes. But Sunny beats Fred to the punch to announce the mystery. Outside, they see an alien on deck, and Fred makes sure to declare it's time for traps first. The boys resign themselves to their live bait fate, but immediately run into the man again, and then into the alien as we get a classic chase scene. With another camera snap, they capture the alien and wrap it up, unmasking the captain. Sunny reveals this is a mystery cruise, and this was simply part of the fun. The reason Fred's parents planned this for him. Sunny, meanwhile, is convinced they'll be able to get one up on the gang yet. The captain shows up again as a Captain Cutler knockoff, but loses his head to the boys who run into the man again. Fred enjoys some time shirtless for some fan service, making sure he gets extra wet and wild, and he accidentally returns the favor on Sunny's costume. The boys aren't even fazed by the dinner scare, and a knockoff ghost clown and werewolf do nothing, exhausting Sunny, who's realized they're out of things to try. The gang apologized for ruining the cruise for everyone else, even solving one last mystery of one annoyed guy's missing watch. Right here you can see some What's New Scooby-Doo cameos. Lloyd from Safari So Goody and Alexandra from Pompeii and Circumstance are in the crowd. I actually have a video about Alexandra's Italy-based episode you can go watch after this. Here you can see sisters Chris and Terry from the episode Roller Coaster Ride too, though Chris's hair is all one color instead of streaked now. Before they can go on much more, Shaggy spots Rupert out on a life buoy and he's woken up with another snapshot. He explains who he is and who attacked him, but Captain Crothers writes his story of ghost pirates off as delusional and sends him to the doctor. He warns of the fog and lights, but Fred promises Sunny they won't solve this mystery. The boys are then scared by Biff Wellington, eccentric billionaire, as he arrives by jetpack. And scared is definitely the right reaction to a billionaire suddenly showing up. Look at the remains of Twitter lately. I'd be terrified if Elon Musk suddenly showed up on a cruise. Biff explains he's trying to set a jetpack record but ran out of gas, asking to borrow some. The gang yet again promise a confused Sunny that they won't get involved, but her alarm goes off and she starts to get ready for the costume dinner party. Excited, the boys go through different costumes trying to get approved, including Daphne and Velma like in Goblin King 2 movies later. At the costume party, you can see a party-goer dressed as a soldier in reference to Aloha Scooby-Doo, and one as a Lost City member from Where's My Mummy, also as covered before, while the boys in their chicken costume are snapped by Fred's parents. Rupert joins them, and Daphne compliments his castaway performance to a still very confused Sunny. Prolonging the boys from getting to eat, Sunny introduces the act of Mr. Mysterio, who teleports over behind them. Dan Castellaneta here sounds like he's doing a mix of a Peter Lorre impersonation, likely as intended, and strangely Vincent Price. The boys are forced on stage to take part in his hypnosis act, but Rupert sees the fog roll in and runs off, followed by the other three and Fred's dad. Fred compliments the special effects to Rupert's anger, and Daddy Skip says he's gone too far, but Rupert warns them again. Mr. Mysterio starts working, hypnotizing the entire crowd, including Fred's mom Peggy, instead of just the boys, while the crew meanwhile sees several large objects approaching them on the radar. Meanwhile, Mr. Mysterio gets pissed off as the hypnosis is working on everyone except the boys, so he sets them free and disappears. Sunny is confused as an unscheduled blackout occurs, and the fog creepily infiltrates every corner as the shadowy ship crosses past the windows while a ghastly laugh rings out. Rupert confirms it's the ghost pirates as they rush in, with the entire crew breaking in through the windows as everyone runs. Captain Skunkbeard confirms he's come for Rupert again. We get another musical chase scene as the pirates terrorize the ship. Fred's parents are taken aboard the ghost ship as it returns to the fog, and now Fred's motivated more than ever. Shaggy moans about having to go after the pirates, but even Scooby scolds him for it. Inside, they find everyone has vanished like before, and they head up to take control of the ship and follow the glowing trail left by the ghost ship.
Are you sure you know how to drive this thing?
Sure. It's just like the Mystery Machine, only bigger and more floaty.
Yeah, I got it now. We're cruising.
Meanwhile,
Check it out, Scoob! Like I'm king of the world! Me too!
that's 2 Titanic references in these DTV movies we've seen now. The exact same reference, in fact. And they did it for me. For better or worse, they catch up to the fog and speed up as they find the ghost ship. On board, the pirates sing and dance until the captain comes out to address them, insinuating that they're going to open portals through time and regain their treasure, to the confusion of Skip asking for his wife. Captain Skunkbeard singles him out as the one who will lead them to the location of the Heaven's Light and asks for suggestions for what to do to him. After a bunch of stinkers, he finally hears a good one, and Sea Salt Sally reveals it to be hers. Skip asks for his wife again, but she threatens him.
Oh, Scooby-Doo, where are you?
The lookout reveals the gang are approaching and the ship prepares for battle, shooting cannons and beginning to flood their vessel. Those Titanic vibes really kick in as the ship goes under and they have to jump. Sally shuts up Skip's question about his wife again as she takes him to the plank, and the surviving gang resurface. Luckily, nobody is stingy about letting them aboard anything like Rose. They follow fruit and make it to a land nearby, putting together a makeshift raft and searching for the bananas that led them there. The boys fall down through a mess while the others just take the stairs, where Scooby finds a hidden opening. For some Somewhere that shouldn't have seen anyone in a long time, if ever, they find lights and also Rupert's lost ship. Aboard it, he finds his painting of the night sky over the triangle 200 years ago was stolen by the pirates. Unfortunately, the ghostly pirates find them and we get some early 2000 CG in the form of their ghost ship like at the start as the gang is tied up. Skip is brought out with the painting to Rupert's shock, and the captain realizes they have the wrong man as he exchanges the two. They put together that the stars in the painting must be a map and they need Rupert to lead them to what they're searching for. It seems the rumors of the Triangle Phantoms might be true as ghost planes fly overhead, followed by a missing ship lost for decades and a sea serpent, making it clear they're right in the heart of the triangle. Using Daphne's credit card to free them from the rope, Skip isn't sure of where the other captives are, as the captain is sure of his plan, despite Rupert's objections that there is no power, insisting nothing is out there. However, there does seem to be something after all as the CG ship closes in, and below the gang seemingly find a triangle museum. Velma deduces that they're all remote control scale models for holograms through a projector, and Scooby finds the source of the glow in a jar, leaving the question of who they're trying to fool and also where the missing people are. The CG ship glides through the rocks, and the captain finds the spot he's looking for. They reveal a crane claw they send down, retrieving the heaven's light they were searching for, which turns out to be a meteor, and as Skunkbeard stabs it, a light shines out and he believes time to be undone. Two aliens walk out of the light under a UFO, all controlled by Velma after their findings below, while Fred and Daphne inside warn them to leave. The wind shifts the ship, and some rope burn causes everything to fall apart and the trap to fail. Now onto the plan of the meddling kids, the UFO is accidentally shot out of the sky, and another musical chase sequence begins. Both Jones boys try to go after Sally, but she's still too much for them, and after lots of swashbuckling fun, it seems they're cornered. To everyone's surprise, the boys show up and successfully spring a trap of their own, catching the pirates. They unmask Skunkbeard, revealing Biff Wellington, because of course, billionaires are always the #1 suspect. Turns out, Biff really believed the meteor uncovered tonight would give him time-traveling powers so he could become a pirate like the ones he idolized growing up. His right-hand man unmasks himself to be Mr. Mysterio, revealing he's the one who convinced Biff he was a pirate reincarnate so he could get the meteor for himself, with all the scale models and effects to convince Biff of his scheme. Explaining why he wanted it so bad, he cuts the meteor to uncover real gold that would make him richer than Biff. Unfortunately, raising it has triggered volcanic activity as the waves go wild and they realize they have to return it to the sea. Mysterio tries to stop Scooby, but thanks to some tricky tickling, he escapes and finishes the job. It's up to Fred to try and steer the shoddy CG ship through the rocky island in rough water, with increasing danger as the rocks fall from all over while the area collapses. Having survived, they now just have to find Fred's mom and the other missing passengers. They unmask some of the pirates, revealing Sunny, Captain Crothers, even Rupert's crew, as Daphne is surprised they were all involved. Velma reveals they at least weren't knowingly, as they were all under hypnosis from when Mysterio put them under at the party and were instructed to act like pirates to aid the plan. Still wondering where Fred's mom is, they see Skip is being led out to the plank by Sally. Under more tickle threat from Scooby, Mysterio releases them and Sally's unmasked to reveal Fred's mom, Peggy. As the plank begins to bounce, the two fall and barely hang on as they get two of the model planes to fly by and rescue them. As morning arrives, everyone enjoys the rest of their mystery cruise on the ghost ship, with Rupert confirming they'll be back in no time, and right on schedule according to Sunny. Captain Crothers confirms authorities will be waiting for their two pirates as well. With one more blinding snap, Skip asks Shaggy if he wants a trip to the Himalayas, but Shaggy does not want to risk seeing an abominable snowman. Unfortunately, in the next DTV movie video, we'll see his wish to avoid that does not work out. Under Scooby's steady sailing, they head off into the distance as the movie ends.
Yo ho ho and Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Honestly, people can dislike this movie all they want. That's valid, and I get why. But I still very much enjoy this one. Like I said, I don't even usually care for pirate movies, and I still have a good time here. It was my first introduction to the Bermuda Triangle, and like Nessie or El Chupacabra, I've been obsessed ever since. And when you know about all the stories of the Triangle, it's fun to see how it was all incorporated into the movie. I love it when Scooby pulls from real myths and legends for the monsters or locations and incorporates them into a story, especially the things that really still remain a mystery that can't be solved. Like the Nessie movie, this never confirms or denies the strange occurrences of the area, allowing young audiences like myself to become absorbed in speculation and research about the story inspiration. The gang going on a mystery cruise and believing the actual mystery to be part of the show until it gets real is a fun diversion, and a billionaire stupidly and blindly following people actually pulling the strings just simply makes sense. It's also a pretty funny movie that I laugh at throughout every time. The voice acting is solid, like Tim Conway being very fun as Skip, Kathy Najimy is entertaining as Sunny, and the usual members of the gang do solid in their roles. For me, the standout performance is actually Ron Perlman, who not only voices Biff, but of course Captain Skunkbeard. He usually has a pretty recognizable voice I can easily pick out, out, but the affectations he puts on his boat disguise him so well I might not have picked him out, especially Skunkbeard. Sure, he's basically just doing your typical pirate voice, but he does it really well and convincingly commands his ghostly crew. The animation is completely standard here for the What's New era. Nothing stands out as really well done or really poor. The shading is a little bland for me like the era usually is, but it looks good for the intent. Per usual, the only thing that really took me out of it visually is the CG on the ghost ship. The model and texture applied don't blend with the hand-drawn characters or settings in a lot of shots and make for a pretty distracting visual. The music is also pretty standard and fine. It sounds exactly like I would expect of this era's music, and I especially like the pirate crew's song they sing. Biff appearing and disappearing just as fast sets him up as an obvious villain as far as Scooby stories go, and Mysterio's hypnotism is pretty obvious too, so if your standards require it to be hard to really figure out the mystery, I can understand that being a problem, but it plays out satisfyingly enough for me. This is the 4th movie of the What's New era, and honestly that's where I would rank it. This is a solid 4th ranking out of the 7. It's not the best, but it's not the worst for me at all. I don't have much more to say about it though, this is just a shorter video. Not all of these need to be half an hour, so let's wrap it up, mateys. Usually, like the Mummy video, I would talk about the other pirates Scooby has come across, but after Scooptober, I really don't have the energy to go that in-depth while I recover, and who knows, maybe they'll come up in another video someday. I hope everyone who really wanted to see this video had a good time, and like I said, don't worry, the final 2 movies of this era are coming. Sometime in 2023, I will be getting to those as well to finish what I started. I wanted to do Chill Out for December, but I just don't have the energy in me, so you'll get it when it's ready. If you did watch all of Scooptober last month, thank you for the support. It absolutely drained me, but I had a great time celebrating the month with everyone. But just because the holidays are upon us, that doesn't mean there's no room for Scooby-Doo. Make sure to join me in discussing the Nutcracker Scoob in the final video of 2022 this Christmas. Until then, you can find me on the usual social media, like the dying platform Twitter or Tumblr, with my personal blog or the Scoobytopia blog for direct updates and posts, as well as TikTok. There's actually a bonus video on there watching R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour Don't Think About It that I couldn't post on YouTube, which you can exclusively enjoy on the Clock app. It's a fun video and I was excited to post it here as a bonus last month, but it just wasn't in the cards. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you around town in Scoobytopia. Bye!